Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Legends from the Past and the Future Show. I am your host, Armand Wallace, and we have a show for you tonight. Now, tonight's going to be solo. It's going to be solo. It's just me tonight, so but we're going to have some fun. We're going to have a learning experience, and it's going to be great. So before I bring them on, I'm going to give you a taste of who they are. Miss Chris Potts and Miss Roxann Redd-Wallace.
We're joined by Chris Potts, Executive Director of HSHC, with advanced degrees in literature and storytelling and a passion for American women's history. Chris brings the past to life through her powerful interpretation of abolitionist and women's rights pioneer Sarah Grimke. Alongside her is Roxann Redd-Wallace, HSHC trustee and recording secretary, a retired U.S. Air Force Master Sergeant and local historian dedicated to preserving African American history in Harford County. Together, Chris and Roxann will take us through Trials Triumphs, a history of the African American experience in Harford County, a moving traveling exhibit that uncovers the rich stories of resilience, culture, and legacy in the county's Black community.
Well, there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage is none other than Miss Chris Potts and Miss Roxann Redd-Wallace. Good evening. How are you doing?
We're doing really well, Armand. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome to the show. I'm glad you are here. It is great that you are here tonight, and there's a lot that I don't know about what you do, and I'm sure our audience would really like to know what it is. Somebody asked me earlier today, what is HSHC?
Yeah, well, the HSHC is just the acronym for the Historical Society of Harford County. We're the oldest county historical society in the state of Maryland. And we just spent the last 6 months traveling with this traveling exhibit that we're going to be talking about tonight, which we're very proud of. Trials and Triumphs, a history of the African American experience in Harford County.
All right, so let's segue into where were you born and raised?
Okay, I'll go first since I'm the oldest. I was born at the former Harford Havre de Grace, Havre de Grace Memorial Hospital. I started to say Harford Memorial Hospital. Havre de Grace Memorial Hospital in Havre de Grace, Maryland, in 19 something or other. I'm not going to tell you when.
I got it.
I grew up in the Abingdon, Edgewood area of Harford County and graduated from Edgewood High School in 19. Again, I'm not going to tell you when. I spent 23 years in the United States Air Force, proud United States military member, working as a radio communications analyst, a substance abuse counselor, and a military training instructor. Upon retirement, I met my husband while stationed in Alaska, and my husband, Mark. And upon retirement, we decided to come back to Maryland. We have 2 children, a blended family of 2 children, and 1 grandson named Killian.
Awesome. You know, I'm not going to hold it against you that you went Air Force.
Well, hey, what can I say? Smart people go in the Air Force.
Oh, that was a knock. You know that was a knock, right?
That was a knock.
So now, where did you go to college? And what are some of the things you did while growing up?
Okay, so I don't have any advanced degrees. I got both of my degrees through the Community College of the Air Force, one in communications management and one in military science. Traveled around the world, not extensively. I was stationed in Misawa, Japan, in Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska. Did some time, about 7 years, down in San Antonio as a training instructor.
Awesome. Okay, now, Chris.
Yeah.
Tell us where you were born and raised.
So I'm also a Harford County native. Grew up as a little girl in Bel Air and then moved further north to the country in the northern part of Harford County. Graduated from North Harford High School, went on to get my bachelor's at Towson in Baltimore, Towson, Maryland. And I have a couple of master's degrees. One's in literature from Wake Forest, and the other is in storytelling from East Tennessee State U. Oh, and we have another legend joining us. So we're going to make room for a real legend coming in here right now.
Exactly.
But so that's where I got my education. And I have a background in just teaching. I taught at some universities home in Germany. And then back at Towson, I worked at a couple of nonprofits, and I started working here at the Historical Society about 3 years ago. So, yeah,
Okay.
that's my background.
Well, that's awesome. That is awesome. I'd like to say good evening, Rendelia. Welcome to the show. Now, so who do we have here? Is this Miss Shirley?
This is Miss Shirley.
This is the real legend. The real legend.
Yeah.
Real legend? Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Miss Shirley. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Dorchester County, a small town called Hurlock, country town. A few years back, but I'm not going to tell you how many.
That's because she's smart. She might have been in the Air Force.
I want you ladies to know now, I did my research, and I do have those years. And this is the Legends from the Past and Future show. So we are very transparent on this show. Okay. So unless you want me to put it out for you, all right, let's go. Let's have it.
Well, if I make it to Tuesday, I will be 90 years old.
Wow.
We're 1935, one of six.
Wow, bless you. That is a blessing. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I've been retired 34 years.
34. Yes, you are the true legend. It's an honor. It's an honor to have you on the show tonight. Thank you.
It's an honor to be here and to be mobile, to be of sound mind.
Yes.
To be able to move from place to place. It's a blessing.
It is a blessing.
Yes, it is.
And
yes.
I am very proud that I have lived that long, and hope that I have helped many youngsters in the day of junior high.
Yeah.
Okay, well now this is for each of you. So your line of work that you do now, what is it that you are trying to do? What is it you're trying to help people to see and understand what it is that you're doing? Who would like to take that first?
Okay. Well, in my line right now, I work part-time at a little store to keep myself busy, but when I have spare time, I like to hang out at the Historical Society, researching African-American history here in Harford County. I think you asked me earlier on, not during the show, as we were getting prepared, why this is taking place in Harford County as opposed to Baltimore County or Baltimore City. Well, because we're from Harford County. That's it. We need to know about Harford County history for our African-American community.
Wow. So now what exactly, I'm going to get to the storytelling part, but what is it that you do? I mean, what is it that you do?
Oh, Historical Society. On the Historical Society end, we go through old documents. You have to be able to read cursive. Any young people that are online watching, cursive is the thing. Go back and learn some cursive, okay? Because all the old documents are written in cursive, and it's hard to be able to decipher if you don't know how to read it and write it. So we go through old documents that we have on file here at the Historical Society. There are thousands of them: newspaper articles, court records, slavery records, manumission documents, just a wide array of documents that we go through. We look at materials that have been donated to us here at the Society, because everything is through donations. We don't go out and purchase items from individuals. We mesh that together. We've been interviewing people both in person and online to pull this history together. We've been working for about 1.5 years before the exhibit actually went out on display. And we've been traveling around the country around the county for the last 6 months in that capacity.
Well, that's awesome. Okay, the storytelling. Chris Potts.
Yeah.
All right,
Storytelling.
storytelling. So what is it that you do? What exactly is it you do? And
Okay. Well, so I think what you may be interested, you're saying, well, what is a historical society for? And so our mission in all historical societies is to preserve and promote local history. And when you think about local history, I heard a great sort of tagline about local history, and that's local history is history that happens to real people. And so I think that one of the things that's really exciting about what we do is we take history that you read about, right? And then you bring it down and you make it real to the places and the people that live in the area. And we were just really fortunate with this particular project, because this is also the intention of this particular exhibit is to preserve and promote African American history in the county. And so we were super lucky to be able to interview people like Mrs. Rose, who lived this history and could really make it very real for us. And so the ways that we incorporated storytelling in the exhibit is we interviewed people like Mrs. Rose. We researched newspaper. We had researchers mining all these types of documents that Roxann's talking about, like manumission records and newspaper stories. And well, Roxann can tell you and should about the 2-volume set of African American history pamphlets that a group of local historians made in 2016. Roxann was one of them, called Campaign 42, in honor of Jackie Robinson and all the breaking of barriers that he did. But we built on that foundation and we said, we want to tell these stories, and we want to really do what people call public history. Public history is history that originates and is told and is taught outside of the academic environment. So this is a public history experience. It was created by, us here at the Historical Society, and we took it out into the community so people could see it. We got to scoot in so all of us can see it. It's okay. There we go.
Yeah. So now, Ms. Rose, there's a plethora of history that goes on in your head. What is it most that you would like people to know?
I would like people to know that it is possible to be successful. It involves hard work. It involves meeting people. It involves getting out in community and doing what you can. But there's a lot of truth, and you can be what you want to be.
Yes.
If you try.
So where do you find the energy to do what you do?
Well, I retired. I volunteered at Harford Memorial Hospital until it closed. And unfortunately, I had surgery, hip surgery, and I had a little bout with that. And during that process, I didn't go back, and then they closed. So now I just work at my church and do things there. And in the internship of all of this, I was going back to the Eastern Shore, taking care of my mother.
Yes. I got to ask you this question, ma'am. So on Mother's Day, when the pastor asked who was the oldest mother in the congregation, are you the mother of the church?
No.
So there's someone that's older than you are?
I don't know, but I'm not the mother. I'm not titled the mother of the church. I may be the oldest.
Okay. Yeah, I just had to ask.
I don't mind if they call me that.
Mother.
I don't mind that. I had a lot of mothers in the course of the 35 years that I was in the system. I had all kinds of little kids.
Yes.
Big size, colors, attitudes.
What a blessing. Well, Chris, what is it with you and women's history? You've taken an interest in women's history, right?
Yeah, I used to teach women's history, and so that's or one of the areas that I taught in writing and women's history. And one of the things you mentioned in the bio is the type of storytelling work I do. We want to get close in here so all three of us can be seen.
No, I want Miss Rose to get closer.
Okay, there we go. I think that's better. So I mentioned that I do some storytelling as a woman, Sarah Grimke, and she was an historical woman. She was one of the first women to be an agent for the Anti-Slavery Society in America. And so she was an abolitionist and women's rights activist. And so I'm very interested in not just portraying her and those issues, but in women's history in general. So yeah, I guess you would say that's sort of my area of particular interest in history. But yeah, so I'm very excited to be here with this lady, this paragon of women's history. Yeah, and women like her who we were able to put forward and showcase in the exhibit.
Yes, yes. What a blessing. What a blessing. So now, Miss Wallace. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the comprehensive chronicle of local African American history in Harford. What can you share with the audience on that?
Okay. Well, Campaign 42, also known as the African American History of Harford County Project, was begun in 2016 by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Jerome Herschel. He has since passed away. He was a white gentleman who was very active in politics and was very, very much interested in finding out more history of African Americans in Harford County. So he gathered a group of individuals, like-minded individuals, and we began to put out a weekly pamphlet, a 3-part pamphlet via the internet that covered African American history in Harford County from all aspects, from the earliest aspects up to the present time: military heroes, teachers, heroes, sheroes, youth that were involved in helping with cancer research and things of that nature. And we put out about 120, 130 pamphlets on a weekly to bi-weekly basis via the internet. People would, send us their emails and we would send them out to them. The Historical Society has the entire collection on file here that people can come in and read. And that was pretty much the catalyst for us. That was our jumping off point for this particular exhibit, because we had already mined the information. And so we just took some of those items and updated them and talked to people and put those items out and then added to it from the other history here in Harford County. And this is just a tiny little tip of the iceberg as far as Harford County African American history goes. We wanted people with this exhibit to get excited about African American history and preserve their own African American heritage and history by talking to their elders, recording their elders, writing down things, and not throwing away those precious items that family members have laying around the house that we just think are junk sometimes. Oh, that mama had that, that's just junk. No, open it up and read what mama had to say. And so the African American History Project, Campaign 42 got us started, but then we took off from there.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Miss Rose.
Yes.
Okay, so now what you're doing, everything that you do, there's a lot of resistance that you come across. And I'm pretty sure over the years that you've been doing this, there's been several people who resisted to really hear you out. How did you handle that?
Well, I guess I got something from my father as a child. And he says, you have to be really good to win an argument. So if you don't participate, you don't have a winner. You don't have a loser. And be a good listener. And you'll find that many people who are challenging you will outtalk themselves.
Wow.
And you don't have to say a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've gone around the circle and they've kicked themselves. You don't have to do any kicking. But there have been times that I will look at you. I'll just look at you. and say nothing. So if I don't respond, you can't argue with me. So when you get finished, you can say thank you, and the conversation is over. You're not upset, but they are.
That's pretty effective.
Sometimes you just have to listen, because people will get things confused and mixed up. And you work with me as a child, and I have to face my parents who are strict. I'm going to try to win that battle because I'm going to tell something that's not true. So you go home with the wrong tale, and then your parents come in to defend the story that they tell. When they get the real meaning, most of the time you can reason with them. And if not, don't argue. The conversation is over. Look, listen, and thank you for coming.
Wow.
Irritates sometimes, more so than arguing. I found that.
Well, ladies, there's a lot of Black history in Annapolis, especially with the Benjamin Banneker. You have Frederick Douglass home. That's what is it, Oyster Harbor. What collaboration do you have with the city of Annapolis? Yeah. Kunta Kinte, Alex Haley. What collaboration do you have with the city of Annapolis? Any?
To date, none.
Really?
Yeah, we have no collaboration, but I think what we've often talked about is we hope that this exhibit sparks all kinds of, extraordinary partnerships and opportunities. And if there was an opportunity to collaborate, then we would be really excited about that. So this is kind of like a starting point for us.
Okay.
Is what we hope.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Armand. It is a first of its kind exhibit for Harford County of African American history. We've never done anything like this before. It's the first traveling exhibit that the Historical Society has ever done. So we're mostly concentrating on making contacts within the community so that we can get the word out to have people host our exhibit in their locations and things of that nature at home.
Well, I'm going to show you a few things.
Okay.
And I want you to talk about it, okay?
Okay.
Let's first talk about this.
The first, being first. Oh, wow. You're on there. Yes. Well, African Americans in Harford County have made a lot of firsts, and we couldn't include them all in this small exhibit that we had. So we just picked out just a few firsts for our African American community, like Mr. Godfrey Clayton, who I think attends church with you, right? Mm-hmm. Harford County's first African American probation officer. Mr. Godfrey was also a veteran of the Vietnam War. He didn't actually serve in country, but he's one of the people that we highlight in our exhibit. We also have one of his military jackets from when he was in the military, serving during the Vietnam era. We talk about Mr. Leon Roy, who was the principal at the Havre de Grace Colored School before they then built the Havre de Grace Consolidated School. He was the first Black principal, and we just give people a little teeny bit of information so that they will hopefully go back and do their own research and learn more about these individuals. We talk about Mr. Cornelius Smith, who was the first Black realtor here in Harford County, and Bishop Roger Tatum, the first substance abuse counselor in Harford County, who also, might add, was a Vietnam veteran. He was one of the individuals that we had an opportunity to interview, along with his wife, Pastor Miriam Tatum. They now are the pastors over a church, Helping Hands, out in Darlington. And we were really, really interested in talking at first with Bishop Tatum about his Vietnam experience. And it was the first time since Vietnam that he has actually opened up and talked about his experiences there. And we found that very, very moving and rewarding for both us, and I think kind of cathartic for him. Some of the stories he talked about, his wife hadn't even heard about.
Mhm.
You know, some of the other firsts, of course, we're setting with the first Black female principal of our public schools in Harford County, Miss Shirley Rose, Mr. Neely, who was the first Black school member of the Association Board of Education, served as on the state board. I'm having a hard time because I'm trying to look over my shoulder to see what all we have on the panel, and I'm having a hard time reading it on the screen because I have old eyes. And down at the very bottom of the panel, which you cannot see, we did a little section on our first Black mayor in Harford County. We have incorporated towns in Harford County or cities, and we have had exactly one African American mayor, Mr. Warfield, Mr. Raymond Warfield, Mr. Raymond Warfield. So,
Okay.
We also, you're moving to the cases there. What I was going to say, we also had the stethoscope of the first African-American physician from Harford County to practice in Harford County, who had privileges to the hospital. We have the prescription pad of his mentor, Dr. Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
We have the first African-American judge in Harford County was the Honorable Judge Eads. We have her gavel. We have the first deputy sheriff's hat and badge and nameplate, name tag. So we were trying to put forward we try to show some of these artifacts so that people understand that these were real people doing real things, accomplishing real firsts.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we look back at how we were segregated for so many years, these people do not know, unless they research or it's somewhere written, of what happened with our race of people many, many years ago. Now, we had landowners, nothing was said. We had a superintendent of the Black schools, but nothing was said. And most people don't know them. I didn't know him. I just knew his name. So looking at my age, there's a lot of history that has gone dormant because, when we got to the place of segregation, a lot of that was just thrown away.
When we integrated.
The schools.
Okay.
It thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are working hard to try to get what's what. But when I look at this area, this rectangular area of Bond Street, Alice Ann Street, I can remember it being all African American. And I can remember our barbershop. I can remember them having a grocery store. Things like that I remember, but no one else does because the younger people have had to move away in order to go to school, to seek employment. And I find they're doing a lot of that now, even though the avenues are open. Our children go to college. They don't come back because there's nothing here for them to do.
That's true.
And you do have to live. So a lot of our history is lost because there's no one except people like these two young ladies who are out there in the fields digging for it.
Yes.
And people have a tendency to move away. So who do you talk to?
That's true. That is true. When I was going through high school, we actually had an Afro-American history class. Would you agree that a curriculum should be in school? Or I noticed the look on your face, Mr. Wallace. Are you against that? Are you opposed to having that?
No, you went there and it's like, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But if our school board's not for it, then it doesn't happen. If the parents
Yeah.
don't stand up and say, we must have this, then it's not going to happen.
And if we look at who we are
Mhm.
and look at our communities, who are we?
Mm.
So what are you going to teach? If you're not going to teach my history, and I'm there, you can see who I am. Why are you going to teach history and you don't know what you're teaching? History is history.
Yes.
It's history of a frog. It's history. But you don't consider my people even important. And who are my people? You don't know who I am. I don't know who you are. We are mixed. And let's accept the fact that we are mixed. I don't have to be a certain color to be mixed. And I was started in the mixing, not with me, but with my foreparents back in slavery. So who am I? And who are you? You're not white and I'm not black.
I need to get you on the show all by yourself. You know that, right? How do each of you feel about the removal of DEI?
You want to start?
Well, go ahead. Yes,
No.
ma'am. You go first. Yeah.
Now, let me think, because I'm older. I may say the wrong thing.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to do with this exhibit, Armand, was approach the notion of African American history as not something that's separate.
Yes.
We talked about how we wanted to compile these stories and of the places and the experiences of African American people in like a tapestry, and how this tapestry of stories and experiences that we start in like as early as slavery days, and we bring all the way up to pretty much the current moment. I mean, we feature the Jones sisters from who are professional basketball players now, the Breonna and Stephanie Jones, who went to Maryland. Those of you who are basketball there we go, still playing professional ball. But we said, okay, this history is woven into the fabric of Harford County. This is our history. This is unified history. And so this heritage belongs to all of us. And there are, in terms of how we titled the exhibit, Trials and Triumphs, there's a lot of very painful history. African American history is filled with deeply painful experiences, only, I would say, equal to, in degree, to the enormous accomplishment and just inspirational stories of addressing and overcoming enormous challenges, tragedies, and triumphing over tragedies. So we wanted to establish a balance and we wanted to look at a full scope, and we wanted to emphasize that this is history, that it is county history. So that would be one thing that I think was like really at the foundation of our building this exhibit.
Wow. Okay, so now DEI, who's next? What do you think about the removal of DEI?
Well, obviously it's wrong on all levels. And I don't know what can be done to rectify the situation. I'm not going to say what's going through my mind right now. Okay. But yeah, I think it's wrong, and all people should be included in our history. Diversity and inclusion. That's what Ms. Rose was saying. We're all one.
Yeah.
Why do you want to exclude one group of people in favor of another group of people?
And when you look at why we're segregated, it has been the mistakes and the avenues that all races have taken. We have all crossed the line. And yet we think well, we can segregate against them because they're Black. They don't know what we are.
They're Hispanic.
They don't understand that this mixing has been going on for many, many, many years. And recently, it's just come to light and you see it. Before, it was done under the table. But still, we have people who really don't know the history. They don't want to know the history, but they still want to go down that black-white line.
Yes.
Little
ma'am.
kids going down that black-white line.
Well, I'm going to show you a comment from somebody that you three know very well.
Okay.
All right. But before I show it, I want to welcome Vanessa Turner to the show. And here it is right here. Can you see that?
It's more important that we tell our stories of contributions to Black people, especially as we face long based the history of Black progress and DEI.
So that's from I'm going to say Sandra. She don't like Sandra. She wants Sandy, but I'm going to say Sandra Arnett, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So how do you feel about this comment that she made? What's your take on it?
She's right on point. She's right on point. What else can you say?
Absolutely. And I gotta tell you, ladies, something that I didn't notice about Harford. You know, I really didn't. You know, I'm from Annapolis, and I'm where everything was originated, but we're blinded. You know, we're shielded away from everything that's taking place in other counties. And by you ladies coming on and sharing what you did, I think what I need to do is I need to have a 2-hour show with you guys. I do, and I think that not just I think there should be a collaboration done with Harford and Annapolis, Baltimore, and I think this show right here will be the start of something happening. What is it, Miss Potts, that you would like people to walk away from this show knowing?
Well, I think that what we always hope people will walk away from the exhibit feeling like they want to learn more. I think that's the teacher in all of us. And we had hoped that would be the situation because, as Roxann said, and we've talked about many times, there is so much history, and Mrs. Rose just said, there's so much history that we couldn't possibly tell it all in one exhibit. So this exhibit, Armand, it consists of like 11 panels of information. You have topics from like slavery, the Black church, Black businesses, integration of schools, healthcare, all these different military, all these different topics. And then you had members of the Black community, very much thanks to Roxann, who was sort of like the community liaison. She reached out to the community asking people to donate artifacts from their own lives to sort of bring that history alive. So you have this casework. We also have an online part. We have a website. And actually, Mrs. Rose's quote is one of the big ones on the website about the importance of learning our history. And so we put that all together because we want to excite people enough that they want and inspire them enough that they think, wow, I want to become part of this. I want to learn more. And so that's what I think is the bottom line of what we most hope. And that was the reason, and it was Roxann who really emphasized this. The exhibit is called Trials and Triumphs, but it's a history of the African-American experience in Harford County, it's a history, because we don't know all the history out there. As Ms. Rose was saying, we don't know it all. We want other people to explore this and to take part and contribute. That's what I would say is what we've most wanted.
Exactly.
Roxann?
I know. I was thinking as you were saying that, lots of times folks come into the Historical Society wanting to do research, and they'll come in and say, well, I'm checking on the Jones family that lived in this area at this particular date. But if someone hasn't contributed anything from the Jones family, we have nothing to share with them. And so they walk away disheartened. So we really want people to get involved in researching their own history and sharing those family histories and those stories and stuff with us. We didn't mention Dr. Iris Barnes, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't do that. Yeah. We partnered. This exhibit was made possible through a grant from Harford County government. And the Historical Society partnered with the Hosanna School Museum out in Darlington, which is Harford County's very first school open for African Americans coming out of slavery. Mm-hmm. And the children went to school there during the day. Their parents went to school there in the evenings. And Dr. Barnes is their executive director. She couldn't be here with us today. She's at Yale University right now on a fellowship, learning some things about museum curation and things of that nature. But I called her earlier today and I said, Iris, we want to give you a shout out. What would you like us to say? She says, well, I want you to tell everybody to talk to your elders and preserve your history. If we don't do that, we're lost. If we don't preserve our history, we're lost.
And I'd like to continue with that. And I say that if you're going to take history out of the schools, what are our children going to know about their heritage?
Yes.
And why did you decide to take my history out
and leave yours?
I'm not the only person who has history.
Yes.
My history is much richer than something that I'm reading about. And how could my teachers, and I'm sure they were old books, they were books that were probably destroyed. How did they get to teach history of all kinds to us? And they didn't have the resources that we have today. And I just think that anyone who is for that, they have something wrong with their brain. They've got to open up and know that we are a world of people. We are not just one. And if you think that you can control because you are who you are, you can't make it without me. My contribution may be small, but I have one to make. And my forefathers made quite a few that put you where you are. So let's look back and let's not forget, and let's keep it going with this generation so that they know all of history, not only my history, but history of all the people that make up this country. And we're so diversified. I don't think we can eliminate anything.
Wow. Well, ladies, I was gonna let you guys leave something encouraging for our viewers, but I think Ms. Rose summed it up. And I don't think you can top that. I don't, unless you want to give it a shot. First, Ms. Potts, what encouraging thing would you want to leave for our viewers that's out there?
Well, I would just say that I guess I would pass along the responses of the people that have come to see our exhibit. And I think that we have really been so pleased and made proud by the fact that people have all said that they have found the exhibit so enriching and that they thought this history is so important and that they wanted more people to see it. So it's just been this really overwhelmingly powerful and positive response. And this exhibit has been at the local community college, Hayes High House. It was a library, a rec center, Happy Grace Opera House. It was at Hosanna School Museum for Juneteenth. And now it's here. And we just had so many opportunities to hear from people who had been part of the history and who had lived through it, and they would come in and they would say people they knew, and then other people who would say, well, I didn't know that. And everybody has just been equally positive about it. And we think that really reinforces what our mission is and what, I mean, the best that we could have hoped for, really. And I think we're all enriched by learning this history and our history together.
Yes, yes.
I would like to say too that I would like to see more of this in the schools and down on the level where children can understand. You and I and these ladies know about history because we were taught in elementary school. We didn't have middle and junior and high school. When you went to college, you had it. When you went to grad school, you had it, depending on what school you went to. And then all of a sudden, bam, just get rid of it. You can't get rid of history. It's going to pop up when you least expect it. So I say, why not be exposed to it so that you can intelligently discuss it and accept it? But sometimes I think we're going backwards.
Yeah.
And we can't see it. But we don't all have to be first. We can be cooperatively joined together and we make a nice, delicious pie or cake. But when we start putting a little over here and a little over there, it becomes a mess. And America doesn't need to go backwards. We have come too far.
Yeah.
And it's been a struggle for so many, many people. And someone said to me, but you are a foreigner because your people came over on the boat. I said, but yours came into Elliot's Island. So what's the difference? That was a boat. And now we come by plane. And they said, we never thought about that. I said, so we are hodgepodge. So let's accept it. Let's live together. And let's not regress. Let's progress.
Yes, yes. Ms. Wallace, would you like to say anything?
Yeah. As far as what I would like people to go away with from this exhibit, I want them to go away hungry for more, hungry for more. We just gave a little tip of the iceberg with our exhibit. I want folks to go away saying, I've got to go home and talk to my grandmother. She's 97 years old now, and I need to talk to her before she's gone. I need to record her, what she has to say. I need to sit down and really listen to her and hear what she has to say and learn from it. And I need to write it down. I need to pass it then on to my children so that they can pass it on to their children. So I want people to go away from here wanting more. And I want our African-American community to want to contribute more to exhibits such as this in the future.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, Miss Vicki Hunter says much success as you expand this exhibit. She enjoyed the on-site visit as well as the online discussion. All history should be shared, the good and the bad, using it as a learning opportunity. Now, you know, I would love to have you ladies back on the show sometime in the very near future. If you are open to that, there's so much more that could be said. You know, an hour just doesn't do it. But I would like for you to hold 1 second as I put out a few things to the viewers.
All right.
Come back next week. We're gonna have another exciting guest. We're gonna have Hopsy Hudson. The legendary Hopsy Hudson will be on the show next week. Also, just in case you didn't know, this Saturday is a big day. We're gonna celebrate my birthday. I don't know where Deja put it. I think Deja left. She got knocked out by a storm, but we're gonna celebrate my birthday this coming Saturday. So if you have time, just stop by and say happy birthday. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. Come back next week, and if you just hold tight, ladies, something I'll say, okay? See you next week. Thank you for joining.